Welcome to Research Business Daily Report, where market researchers come for news, insights, and commentary about the research field. They get exposed to knowledge that they can apply to both their personal and professional research interests, both inside and outside their current place of work. Today on RBDR, we return to learn more from Katja Cahoon about how the typical researcher can and is transitioning from traditional qualitative to online qualitative methodologies. In our pickup from last week's story, Cahoon focuses on a handful of options available to make this potential conversion workable. RBDR is sponsored today and this week by Nuance, a decision analyst company offering multi-language verbatim coding services that help their clients quantify the meaning of open-ended answers. Nuance has prepared tips for choosing a coding partner. It's a document for the uninitiated, as well as those who would like to update themselves on the subject. And we'll tell you later how to access the paper. Last Thursday, we hope you were with us to hear Katja Cahoon help us understand how and why some researchers are investigating online qualitative research for their project work. Clients and research agencies are asking about the viability of using online qualitative, and in fact, that led Cahoon into her first online qualitative project. But taking a leap in that direction is not as simple as it may seem. Choices need to be made about not always familiar areas, everything from the use of bulletin boards as opposed to live video qual, the role of moderators, and getting serious about bias in some new ways.
How do you make the choice between doing a bulletin board type approach as opposed to a Skype type approach?
I think it depends, again, on sort of the behavioral component. And then also, do you want people to be in their actual sort of natural environment for a period of time? Or do you really want them consistently for an hour or 90 minutes to really dig very, very deep, to do, comprehensive laddering and things like that? Then a Skype is certainly better. But if you really want to get them at several points in time, engage them through different kinds of exercises, see their actual behavior, have them report on behavior, have them report in the moment if you want, then I would do a bulletin board type.
Mm-hmm. But you actually also can incorporate a video component even when you're doing a bulletin board approach. You can have them video something for you, right?
That's a huge aspect, actually, of most of the studies we tend to do. So we look at 4 components. We look at cognition, right? That's how you think about something. We look at the emotions. A lot of projective exercises play an important role here. We look at context. So are people at home? Are they in the office? Are they in store? And then we look at behavior. And behavior, of course, can be captured well through that video component.
Okay. One of the things that occurs to me about doing something online, and particularly, I believe you're a proponent of spending no more than 5 days for a bulletin board type approach. Isn't there a pretty sizable amount of bias that can be injected into that kind of a project because of the time frame and everything that could go on, including your subject talking to friends or family or other people about the particular issue that you want them to comment on?
Yeah, absolutely. This is a great question. And I would say, first of all, we have to be real as researchers that any kind of research we do includes a little bit of bias. Offline, online, qualitative, quantitative, we can't get away from it because as human beings, we are biased and guided by our frames. So I think that's always important to be honest and real about. And then what kind of bias is it and how can we mitigate it? And I think with online, one of the benefits is that you get people at different points in time. So even if they may be biased in one situation because they just had to pick up their kid from school and they're super stressed and worried and they're just trying to hammer out a few responses, we catch them the next day when they're in the situation in a very different mood.
You're a proponent of moderators in your online qualitative as opposed to using an automated system of some sort that, presents the questions and asks the respondent to react to it. Why are you a believer in the moderator?
I think if you don't moderate, you're really looking at a glorified survey, right? You might be putting out some interesting tasks, maybe some videos, maybe some cool projective exercises, but you're really looking at a glorified survey, because moderation in any environment, offline or online, is where depth comes from, where interesting new insights comes from, where really the clarification. So somebody says, love, right? Or happiness. Let's pick happiness. Huh? What kind of happiness is it? What exactly makes you happy in this situation? What else makes you happy that way? Yeah, that's really where the richness comes from, not just from knowing, okay, they are happy. Then we could just do a survey.
Let me go back to bias for a second. Do you believe the industry perhaps makes too much of the bias that can find itself into the work that we do?
Yeah, another great question. Actually, bias is one of my passions, and I think we need to talk more about bias. And I think actually the election results really showed how biased market researchers are, or pollsters, and that whole industry, right? I mean, if you look at how many people predicted a win for Hillary, huge bias, and the bias all went in the same direction. And I think we need to talk more about it, especially about researcher bias. Now, we've accepted that consumers are biased. It's pretty well accepted at this point that they don't act rationally. But what about us as researchers? Yeah? Do we think we're exempt? Or do we accept that and kind of question ourselves, our methodologies, and are honest and real about that?
That's your Research Business Daily Report, which is sponsored today and all this week by Nuance, a decision analyst company offering multi-language verbatim coding services that help their clients quantify the meaning of open-ended answers. Because you personally may not rely on it regularly, you may not have noticed that coding has actually gotten increasingly better in recent years. And that makes the link to Nuance's, quote, tips for choosing a coding partner, end quote, something in your wheelhouse to help stay on top of important changes in research. So click the link that's been created and get acquainted or introduced to coding for the first time. We hope you have a great research day, and we will see you back here with us tomorrow.